Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So let's dive straight in. Let's dive straight into this Labor Day speech from the Prime Minister.
About the refinery. We made a commitment that we will consider and explore what we can do to open that refinery. What we have done as a government, we have agreed to establish a committee to develop a strategy to reactivate the Guadalcanal refinery. Your representatives will be on that committee together with other experts. But we have to go in there and assess what is there before we can go forward. So do I have your permission to set up this committee to explore the strategies for opening that refinery? Remember always, good things come for those who wait. I give you the commitment that we will consider and work with your representatives to make sure we do the best in fulfilling our workers' agenda.
Listen, before I start, I want to say one thing. Do not be gaslit by these people. Do not be gaslit by these people. I don't care who it is, whether it be the PNM or the UNC, do not be gaslit. Listen to what they have to say and follow up on their promises. Follow up on their promises. So let's talk about the Prime Minister's speech, her Labor Day speech yesterday. And I must say it was a speech full of powerful emotion. It certainly was a speech full of powerful emotion, but painfully short on economic truth. And that is a reality you're dealing with this morning. So the Prime Minister stood before the nation. She stood before the nation and said, I am not the 1%. I am not the 1%. I am in fact one of you. That really pulls on the heartstring when you hear words like that. I am not the 1%, I am one of you. But here is the reality. She might not be the 1%, but she sure isn't taxing them. She sure isn't taxing the 1% either. So right now, Trinidad and Tobago is running at a deficit, a $4.4 billion deficit. That is a lot of money. And based on the government's estimate, we are heading towards an $11 billion deficit shortfall by the end of 2025. $11 billion shortfall. Someone has to pay for that, by the way. I'd explain exactly who pays for it. I think you know where this is going. So despite the Prime Minister promising public sector wage increases starting at 10%, sounds great. And of course, who's not going to cheer for this? A 10% increase for public sector workers. They deserve it, of course. They deserve their 10%. The question, however, is a simple one. Very, very simple. Where is the money coming from? Where is that 10%? Where is that pay increase? Where is that money coming from? See, that wasn't touched on, or that wasn't explained to you. There is no plan to build local industries. No plans in a speech to build local industry. No push to diversify the economy, which is dreadfully needed in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean as a whole, but especially Trinidad and Tobago. This over-reliance on oil and gas is what is keeping us down. There is no attempt to tax the super rich, the foreign energy companies, the 1% that she talks about. They are extracting billions from our natural resources that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. whilst paying pennies. So feel-good speeches and committees are not going to fix the issue we have in Trinidad and Tobago when it comes to taxing the 1% she talks about that she said she isn't a part of. Where is the speeches on that? She also announced a new committee to explore the reopening of Petrotrin. How many times have we heard this before? Please don't be gaslit by these people. Reopening the Petrotrin refinery is going to cost billions and billions of dollars. And remember, Petrotrin was formerly a publicly owned entity. A publicly owned entity. If a private business comes in and takes over Petrotrin, it's no longer a publicly owned entity. They do exactly what they're doing now. Take the natural resources and leave. So where is the business plan, I ask you? No financial strategy. No investor interest has been spoken of. I could put money in it now that Petrotrin will never be reopened. Mark my word. So talking about a committee to explore, to maybe do something eventually, maybe in the future, who knows? It's all empty promises. It's not policy. That's procrastination dressed up as patriotism. That is procrastination dressed up as patriotism. Don't be gaslit by these people. I don't care who it is, whether it comes from the PNM or the UNC. Do not be gaslit. The Prime Minister also shared stories about her childhood. That really touches on the emotion, on the heartstrings. She shared childhood struggles, how her family moved from house to house like parang singers, she says, because they couldn't afford to stay in one place. I mean, the struggle is real. The struggle is real in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's face it. And many Trinidadians can relate. But let's be clear again. Struggle stories does not fix structural inequality. Your struggle story, Mr. Prime Minister or Miss Prime Minister, does not fix the structural inequality that's happening in Trinidad and Tobago today. Strategy does. Strategy does. And we still haven't heard one yet. Not a real one anyway. Not this just fantasy talk. It's all we continue to hear. So the question you have to ask yourself, who's paying for these promises? A simple one. Who is paying for the promises made? The 10% increase. Who's going to pay for it? With no business plan to diversify the economy. Who's going to pay for it? You are. Every wage increase that isn't backed by economic growth or new revenue will be paid for through higher taxes. That's you, the general public. Borrowing or cutbacks is going to happen and you will be paying for it. So this is the same old political formula. The same old political formula. We see it from both parties, the PNM and the UNC, unfortunately. Promise more, borrow more, and blame the last government. And that leaves the people with the bill to pay. You, the taxpayers, that leaves you with the bill to pay. This I find truly frustrating, as you can tell. Or maybe not, I don't know. So the Prime Minister says Labour is in the house because a few trade unionists were appointed to boards or elected to, boards in Library or Point Fortin. But again, I want to be honest. Putting a few friendly faces in Parliament, doesn't shift power. It doesn't build businesses. It doesn't diversify the economy. It doesn't create exports. It doesn't move capital into communities. I've talked so many times we hear them talk about these things. You never see them put it into action. When you talk about diversifying the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, possibly moving away from this over-reliance on America. We depend on that country for just about everything. Why are we not focusing on what we need to do? Why no one? That's why I said to you, I started this video by saying to you, do not be gaslit by these people. We've heard this before from both parties. I will call out both parties on this. What Trinidad and Tobago needs is a blueprint for real wealth creation. We need a blueprint for real wealth creation. We need to tax offshore profits. We need to tax the 1% way more. We need to build local industry and stop relying on foreign industries. We need to empower small businesses. More small businesses. It's the root of every economy. We need to stop selling our natural resources to foreign entity and getting nothing back. Until that happens, every commitment to workers is just another empty headline that you, the people, the taxpayers, are going to pay for eventually. This is what they are not telling you. Believe me. So you could come on here and talk to me and put anything you want in the comment. I'm not going to get the UNC tribe attacking me. It's funny when I call out both parties, the biggest attack comes from the UNC tribe. Well, you attack as you wish. Then you can look at my video in 3 or 4 years' time and say, guess what? He was right. Empty promises. Empty promises. No real plans or ideas to diversify a failing economy. Where America goes, we follow. We rely on them for 80% of our food import. That's embarrassing. Embarrassing in a country where we could grow our own crops, we could grow our own food, our own agriculture. We are relying on America for 80% of our food import. Embarrassing, Trinidad and Tobago. We must do better. And I hear no talk of it. I hear no talk of it coming from our leadership. To pay these people, the money has to come from somewhere. And if we see no business ideas, that money is coming from you, and it's going to come from you in the form of tax increases. In a country where food prices are already escalating as well, you're going to see tax increases. That's the only way it's going to be paid for. And let's forget this idea that Petrotrin is going to be reopened. You're flogging a dead horse there. Believe me, they are flogging a dead horse. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none. I promise you. I don't want to upset anyone, but that's the reality. Anyway, that's my take. That's my take on the Labor Day speech. It's not a positive one, but that's the reality. And I've told you what we need to do. I've litigated time and time again what we need to do, and I do not hear it coming from our leadership. And that's the sad reality. That's the sad reality. We need regime change in Trinidad. We need a revolution akin to what you're seeing happening in Burkina Faso with Abraham Traore. We need a revolution because the old system clearly isn't working. You're being gaslit again and again and again. And with that, I'm signing out. For now, much love. God bless. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.